Have you ever walked into a room, seen everyone laughing and talking, yet felt completely invisible? I'm Emily, and what was supposed to be a joyful family vacation turned into a nightmare when I realized not everyone who calls you family truly treats you like one. This isn't just a story about being excluded. It's a story about standing up, reclaiming your dignity, and learning to choose yourself, even if it means walking away from everything. If you've ever felt abandoned by those you love the most, stay with me until the end of the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if this story resonates with you. Your story deserves to be heard too. Asterisk. Asterisk, we arrived at Hilton Shores, a famous paradise with powdery white sands, crystal clear waters, and palm trees swaying in the breeze. I imagined warm evenings filled with laughter around the dinner table, long conversations, hugs from my in-laws. But reality was far different. From the very first moment, I was reminded, coldly, bluntly, that to them, I was just an outsider. And for the first time in my life, I realized, sometimes, the only way to earn respect is to walk away yourself. Asterisk. Asterisk, it all started at the very first dinner. As we entered the restaurant, I felt a genuine excitement. The long table, crisp white linens, candlelight shimmering across smiling faces. I moved to sit beside David, my husband, when his father, Robert, spoke up. "Oh, there must be a mistake. Emily needs her own table." I froze, thinking I had misheard. But no, Clara, his mother, didn't even glance up from her menu as she added, "That's just how our family does things." I looked at David, hoping he would say something, anything. But he just sighed and muttered, "It's just their tradition." And so I sat alone. In a crowded restaurant, I became an island, awkward, exposed. They laughed, toasted, shared dishes, and I sipped quietly from my glass, hiding the sting in my chest. I told myself, maybe it's just one weird evening. Tomorrow will be different. I was wrong. Asterisk. Asterisk, the next morning, I woke up early, eager to join them for breakfast. I went down to the restaurant, only to find empty tables. Confused, I texted David. No response. I wandered the hotel for nearly half an hour before I found them, already seated mid-meal, laughing like nothing was wrong. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" I asked, my voice trembling. Robert shrugged without looking up. "We figured you'd figure it out." Clara sipped her coffee. "It's just how we do things." I turned to David. He stayed silent. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't part of this family. I never had been. But what they didn't know yet was that someone who's been pushed aside long enough eventually learns to stand up. Asterisk. Asterisk, I thought maybe if I just tried a little harder, if I just stayed patient, things would change. But the following days proved otherwise. Every morning, I woke up with a faint hope that today would be different. Every morning, they had already left. No text, no note, no invitation. I started realizing their forgetfulness wasn't an accident. One afternoon, I walked past the hotel lobby and caught sight of them. David, Robert, and Clara boarding a private boat for a tour. I only found out because they posted smiling photos online, looking like the perfect family. I stood there, phone trembling slightly in my hand, watching a party I was never invited to. Another evening, I spotted them dressed up, heading out for a fancy wine tasting. I approached David, mustering up courage. "Can I come too?" He shrugged, lowering his voice as if ashamed. "We booked it ahead of time. It's just how they are. It's just how they are." That phrase replayed in my mind like a dull blade dragging slowly across my pride. That night, sitting alone in my hotel room, watching city lights blur through the window, I thought about all the times I had swallowed my hurt. All the moments I had smiled through the pain. All the chances I gave them. And I realized, it wasn't that I wasn't good enough. I never even had a chance. They never intended to give me one. David, the man who was supposed to be my greatest ally, my protector, stood by and said nothing. And in that heavy, aching silence, something inside me shifted. Not sadness. Not hurt. If they wanted me to be invisible, I would disappear, but not in the way they expected. Asterisk. Asterisk that night, I sat alone in my hotel room, hands cold but mind clearer than ever. They wanted separation? I would show them what true separation looked like. I opened my laptop, pulled up every reservation confirmation I'd made. The hotel, the rental car, the spa appointments, the dinner bookings, all under my name. I started canceling everything. One click, the hotel rooms disappeared. Another click, the SUV rental gone. Dinner at the waterfront restaurant? Wiped off the map. When it came to the spa appointment, the one Clara had been eagerly anticipating for weeks, I took my time. I called the front desk, politely informing them that the guest would no longer be attending. The hotel staff kindly thanked me, unaware they had just helped me set my plan in motion. Once I finished, I packed my suitcase neatly, calmly, deliberately, as if I were just stepping out for a stroll. I left the room key on the nightstand, wheeled my suitcase across the marble floor, and stepped out into the cool Hilton Shores night. My rental car was waiting in the lot. I slid into the driver's seat, buckled up, and played soft music on the radio. No anger. No bitterness. Just pure liberation. As I drove away from the resort, I imagined what would happen a few hours later. Robert waking up grumpy to a hotel manager informing him there was an issue with the reservation. Clara discovering her spa appointment had been canceled. David frantically checking his inbox, watching confirmation emails turn into cancellation notices. And me? I wouldn't be there to listen to a single excuse. As I crossed the Great Bridge connecting Hilton Shores to the mainland, I exhaled a breath I felt like I'd been holding for years. For the first time during that whole trip, I felt free. I drove straight toward Charleston. And in my heart, a new plan began to take shape. They thought they could hurt me without consequences. They were about to find out what loss really felt like. Asterisk. Asterisk, the next morning, I woke up in my new hotel room in Charleston, with the sound of distant waves and the smell of fresh coffee filling the air. I sat up in bed, coffee cup in hand, and turned on my phone. As expected, there were dozens of missed calls and messages from David, Robert, and Clara. I scrolled through them casually, a faint, cold smile on my lips. But then a different message appeared, from a name I hadn't expected, Sophie, David's cousin. I heard what happened. Honestly, good for you. Finally, someone had the guts to do it. I frowned. What do you mean? Her response hit me like a punch. They did the same thing to Rachel, David's ex-wife. Their last family vacation ended in tears and divorce. I froze. Rachel, the woman David had mentioned so casually, claiming they had simply grown apart. No drama. No tragedy. At least, according to him. But now everything clicked. The cold looks. The constant exclusion. The endless excuses. That's just how they are. It wasn't their way. It was a strategy. I sat there, heart hammering in my chest, and opened Facebook. Rachel's profile was private, but I found her sister, Laura, and skimmed through her public posts. One post from 2 years ago jumped out at me. Never let someone else's family define your worth. My sister stayed silent for too long. Now she's finally free. My stomach twisted painfully. Scrolling further, I found a comment from Sophie herself. Wished she had listened to us sooner. I sat frozen for a long moment. All my efforts, the patience, the sacrifices, the hope. It had all happened before. And David, the man who was supposed to protect me, had known. Worse, he had let it happen again. Just as I was processing this, my phone buzzed again, this time from an unknown number. Hello, this is Officer Daniels from the Hilton Shores Police Department. We received a missing persons report filed by your husband. We need to confirm your safety. I froze, gripping the phone tighter. Missing? No. This wasn't concern. This was control. And I realized it was time to stop running. It was time to fight back. Asterisk. Asterisk, I was done running. If David and his family wanted a confrontation, I would give them one they would never forget. I rented a small conference room at the Charleston Hotel. I texted David, Clara, Robert, and Sophie, the only person I trusted to bear witness. When they walked in, the air turned thick with tension. David stormed in first, his face tense and set. Clara and Robert followed, cold and condescending. Sophie hovered quietly behind them, giving me a small nod, a silent confirmation that I wasn't crazy. I didn't stand. I wanted them to look down at me. "Have a seat," I said calmly. David gritted his teeth. "Emily, what is this childish stunt supposed to accomplish?" I smiled thinly, placing my phone on the table and pulling up the evidence. Text threats from Clara. Cancelled reservations. Messages and confirmations from Sophie. Silence fell over the room. Robert was the first to break it. "You're making this up. This is just family tradition." I tilted my head, my voice razor sharp. "A tradition that leaves how many women in tears? How many marriages broken?" Clara scoffed, crossing her arms. "If you couldn't handle it, maybe you were never meant to be part of this family." That sentence, that attitude, was the final crack. For the first time, I saw something shift in David's eyes. He stammered. "Mom, you're making it worse." I stared directly at David. "You knew what they did to Rachel. You knew. And you still let them do it to me." David gripped the back of his chair, speechless. I stood slowly, my voice steady. "There's nothing left to discuss. I filed for divorce this morning. And from now on, your life will have nothing to do with mine." Clara shot up, shrieking. "You can't just walk away. Family is forever." I looked her square in the eye, unflinching. Real family doesn't treat people like this. I turned my back on them, walking away from the thick, suffocating air, the accusations, the gaslighting, everything I had tried so hard to endure. As the door to the conference room closed behind me, I felt like I had just stepped out of a prison. I didn't even realize I was locked inside. For the first time, I wasn't just reclaiming my freedom. I was reclaiming my dignity. I was reclaiming my future. Asterisk. The divorce from David took 6 months, longer than I hoped, but shorter than the years I had wasted trying to stay. He tried everything, begging, blaming, accusing me of destroying the family. But I didn't waver. Every call, every message he sent only confirmed how right my decision had been. During that time, Sophie stayed in touch. She told me everything fell apart after that confrontation. David finally stood up to his parents. But it was too late. Robert called him a traitor. Clara cried, blaming me for tearing the family apart. But none of it mattered anymore. I rented a small apartment in downtown Charleston, just a few blocks from the beach. Every morning, I would walk along the shoreline, reconnecting with old friends, rediscovering passions I had buried under years of compromise. Even picking up painting again, something I'd always loved but never had time for. One evening while making tea, my phone buzzed with a message. It was from David. "I get it now. I'm sorry." I stared at the screen for a long time. No anger. No pain. Just indifference. Like he was just another stranger now. Without hesitation, I deleted the message. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I smiled a real smile. I used to think that loving someone meant enduring everything, sacrificing myself for a place at the table. I used to think that pain was the price of being accepted. But now I know. Real love doesn't make you sit alone at the table. Real love never makes you feel like an afterthought. If given the choice between belonging to someone else or belonging to myself, I will choose myself. Every single time. This isn't a sad ending. This is freedom. And sometimes, freedom is the greatest gift you will ever give yourself. Asterisk.